He was just your typical little boy.
Isaiah Torres, a life taken too soon.
I'm the oldest. I'm supposed to protect my younger brothers and sisters, you know?
After years of abuse, the 6-year-old is raped and killed.
This didn't stop until his life got taken away.
And now his father, Mauricio Torres, is on death row, convicted of the crime and accused of abusing his other children.
He took away our childhood. 2 years that we'll never get back.
Isaiah's half-brother and half-sister are now sharing their traumatic story in honor of their younger sibling.
You know, they say all things happen for a reason. His reason was to stop monsters like Maurice.
Thank you for joining us for Chronicle Hidden Horror, the story of Isaiah Torres. I'm Yuna Lee. This is a courtroom where Mauricio Torres was tried and convicted of raping and killing his 6-year-old son, Isaiah. I sat right here during that trial. We not only learned more about Mauricio's abuse, but also about the young boy who lost his life to it. This is Isaiah Torres, born to Mauricio and Cathy Torres. At the time of his death, he was 6 years old. According to the probable cause report, Isaiah's death was a result of internal injuries caused by rape and abuse. In the report, police said Isaiah had, quote, heavy bruising and cuts all over his body, including his head, knees, and feet. Torres told police her family had returned from a camping trip in Missouri, and the boy was complaining of a stomachache and was weak. During the investigation, detectives said they found blood on a camper mattress and inside the couple's home on the walls and floor. Bella Vista police officer said the boy was taken to the emergency room March 29, 2015. Isaiah was pronounced dead at the hospital. Following an autopsy, the Arkansas Medical Examiner's officer ruled the death a homicide. Before Mauricio and Cathy moved to Bella Vista, Arkansas, and had 3 children, each had children of their own. Mauricio was previously married to another woman, Linda. They married in California and had 2 kids, Erica and Torres. Cathy had 3 boys and 1 girl before meeting Mauricio. They're Nicholas, Quentin, Spencer, and Bailey. After they got married, they had 1 boy and 1 girl. They lived in Jonesboro, Arkansas, before moving to Bella Vista. I sat down with Mauricio's oldest children, Erica and Maurice, who goes by Torres, about their tormented life living under their father's care.
You're just hoping that you make it through the night and that everything's gonna be okay.
Erica is Torres's older sister.
There was times like my brother would sneak into my room and come sleep in there with me because he was afraid.
When you were young, did you realize what he was doing was wrong, or did you think that's how everybody grew up?
That's how everybody grew up, you know?
The siblings were punished for everything.
Erica left a little bit of ketchup, remember that? A little ketchup on your plate. And yeah, we got punished for little stuff like that.
They both agree the worst form of punishment came when they were both forced to fight one another until they bled.
When this would happen, I would tell my brother, I'd tell him like, I'm sorry.
We have to.
I'd tell him I'm sorry, and like I don't want to hurt you. To tell him please just scream louder so this doesn't happen. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. You gotta do what you gotta do.
You weren't there when I interviewed Torres the first time, but he told me that you were his protector. He told me that you handled a lot of the bad to protect him.
I'm the oldest. I'm supposed to protect my younger brothers and sisters, you know? I felt like I let them down. But that was really hard, and my brother told me that, you know, I didn't, that I did my best to protect him, you know?
Both siblings even protected one another from one dark secret. They were both raped by Mauricio on a regular basis.
We didn't want the other one to be hurt. My brother called me one day, and he asked me, and he's crying on the phone. He goes, look, I'm old enough now. You know, please tell me the truth. Did the things that happened to Isaiah, did he ever hurt you? That's when I told my brother. My brother never knew until all this happened.
Erica and Torres lost contact with their biological dad after Mauricio met and married Cathy.
The last we heard was, you know, that they got the parental rights taken away, and I thought you know, good, you know, it's done, like that was our, you know, justice, you know. And then to hear that here he is.
With 3 more kids.
Yeah, and I was scared. I was afraid to know, like, what happened to them. My brother called me on the phone, I was shaking.
Torres had called Erica and told her Mauricio was charged with raping and murdering Isaiah Torres. Instantly, Isaiah and Torres had one connection. Both of their first names are Maurice, named for their biological father.
The reason why I named you after me is because you're gonna hurt people just like I did. You'll be a monster just like I am.
Was it always about him?
Yes, he was very self-centered. Extremely. He had to eat first. He always came first. His needs came before ours, you know.
Yeah, like we'd get in trouble as soon as he walked in the door, if we didn't come up and give him hugs and kisses and stuff, you know.
So he still made you give hugs and kisses?
Oh yeah, we had to treat him like Father of the Year.
Yeah.
We couldn't show that we were scared of him.
Erica and Torres say despite the torment, they did learn to love from their mother.
He would even get mad because, like, our mom would try to protect us, you know, or loved us. He hated all of that. He didn't want us to be close. Our relief was our mom.
Yeah, definitely.
She tried to keep us and protect us, and as bad as the things that we went through, you know, she still tried to teach us love and unconditional love, and that.
Because your mom was also abused, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And finally, they're speaking out.
This is all really, really hard for me. You know, to tell our story and have people listen, and because when you read about this and you hear about it, it's like, how can this be real? How can this really happen? You know? And I felt so bad. I felt like I failed all my brothers and sisters.
Prior to Isaiah's death in March, DHS was called to investigate at least 2 times in 2014. DHS found both cases unsubstantiated. One of the reportees was from Ambassadors for Christ, where Isaiah and his 2 sisters attended school. School officials say Isaiah attended classes before he was pulled out and homeschooled after they reported him to DHS. They called DHS officials saying they were worried about Isaiah's life at home. The director told me, quote, "The Ambassadors for Christ Academy is grieving the loss of Isaiah, a precious little boy, as we feel certain the entire community is. During his time at the academy, DHS was hotlined with our concerns." 2 of Isaiah's former teachers sat on this witness stand. Isaiah's former teacher, Perry Heffernan, was the first to take the stand. She said Isaiah loved to sing and would be excited, but she also testified that Isaiah would often be angry, steal school lunches, and cry at nap time. She also told the people in court that Isaiah would come to school severely bruised. She said she called DHS, but no one ever came to talk to her. Hannah Welchenbaugh was Isaiah's music teacher. She also spoke well of Isaiah. However, she testified that he would suck his thumb when he got in trouble and also reiterated stealing lunches.
The testimony in court was that the teachers had taken some pictures of bruises on Isaiah they were concerned about and did report that.
Under Arkansas law, certain people, including teachers, are mandated to notify the Child Abuse Hotline if they suspect abuse. We know Isaiah went to school for 1 year but was pulled out to be homeschooled after those DHS reports. It hasn't been easy finding people who met and knew Isaiah, but Isaiah did volunteer once or twice a month at the Samaritan Community Center.
He was just your typical little boy, happy-go-lucky.
Debbie Rambo is the executive director of Samaritan Community Center, where Isaiah and his sisters volunteered.
He took his job very seriously when he volunteered. If somebody would come in and try to assist him in any way, he would get a little defiant because he'd say, "This is my job. You go find something else to do."
She says Isaiah was involved in the Snack Pack program that helps feed hundreds of needy kids in the area. She says no one ever saw the warning signs.
We were just totally caught off guard. It was the last thing I would have ever imagined would have happened.
This document shows DHS conducted 2 prior investigations involving Isaiah. Both allegations of abuse, cuts, bruises, welts, turned up unsubstantiated. 1 year later, Isaiah died. The medical examiner who took Isaiah's case says Isaiah was chronically abused for more than 2 years, and the chronic abuse contributed to his death. DHS was also involved with Mauricio's other children and stepchildren, including Nicholas and Quentin Martin. They were both in jail when they testified against Mauricio. During their testimonies, we learned of DHS reports dating back to 2002. Cathy's biological son, Nicholas Martin, is now 22 years old. In court, he testified he was physically abused by Mauricio on a daily basis. When asked if he was interviewed by DHS, he replied, quote, "Yes, plenty of times, and they're photos from school," end quote. Nicholas was eventually adopted, just like his younger brother, Quentin. And we spoke with 21-year-old Quentin Martin months before the trial.
Mauricio made us tell them that we was always fighting all the time, so all we had was bruises.
And this is Mauricio Torres, the man who's accused of murdering his son?
Correct, ma'am.
On the witness stand, Quentin testified that Mauricio, quote, used to make us fight each other, and that Mauricio would make him perform sexual acts with his own brother Nicholas while Mauricio watched. Cathy's biological daughter Bailey was a toddler when she lived with Mauricio. She's 17 years old now, and she was adopted by her biological father and his wife. She told the jury, quote, "I was sexually abused by Mauricio Torres in that house," end quote. She said he, quote, "put his lips to my vagina," end quote, and forced her to watch pornography. These are the documents that show police in Jonesboro investigated 2 reports of rape of a 4-year-old girl in the case of Mauricio Torres. The girl in the case is Bailey. The 2004 police report shows Mauricio denied ever doing anything wrong, and when asked to take a polygraph, he said that he was advised by his lawyer not to take one. Torres was never charged due to lack of evidence. The police reports and DHS reports were brought up in this courtroom. They date back to 2002 to 2004. The number of open cases against Mauricio and Cathy are staggering. The defense pointed out that in the reports, both Nicholas and Quentin said their injuries were from soccer or football or sheer clumsiness.
And I think it's important to note the defendant told all of his kids to lie about what happened to them.
There were at least 8 investigations opened by the DHS involving Quentin alone. When I dug deeper, I found DHS's report card for 2013-14 produced by Horby Zeller Associates. It states the average caseload for Benton County is 41 cases per worker. This is far above the standard of 15 cases per worker set by the Child Welfare League of America.
There's always going to be things that different agencies can look back on and determine they should have done differently. But I do think it's important to fix blame where it should be. And the blame for what happened to Isaiah Torres is on the defendant in this case.
6 children were adopted by other families. Cathy and Mauricio lost contact with their family and had 3 more kids, Madison, Isaiah, and Mackenzie. Nicholas, Quentin, and Bailey sat here on the witness stand to testify against Mauricio. Bailey glanced at Mauricio at times, but both Nicholas and Quentin stared at Mauricio. The brothers were visibly upset. The judge even had to ask Nicholas to calm down, but the prosecutor says it was their chance to tell the truth.
They need a lot of support, a lot of prayer, because they have really been through it. And my hope is that by going through this, even though this is awful and wrong and should never have happened, at least by coming and testifying, maybe that will at least do something for them by giving voice to it.
Multiple investigations, yet the abuse continues for years. That leaves a question, why?
As we all know, the Department of Human Services is a great system to protect children. However, it's a system like all systems that can't always meet every need.
During the guilt phase of Mauricio Torres' trial, several witnesses sat right here on the witness stand, and that includes Isaiah's older sister and Mauricio's biological daughter, Madison, a sister the older Torres kids, Erica and Torres, never knew existed until Isaiah's death.
I was so scared and afraid, but she turned that around and she used that as her power, and that's amazing. Like, these kids are my hero, you know, Isaiah and his sisters.
It was after Isaiah's death, Erica and Torres learned they had 3 siblings, Isaiah, his twin sister Mackenzie, and Isaiah's older sister Madison Torres. Madison, now 9, testified against her father, who she called her old dad.
Isaiah's sister certainly corroborated the evidence of abuse that we see on his body. She corroborated the 2.5 years of abuse of Isaiah that the defendant himself admitted to.
She testified Isaiah would often be forced to sleep naked in a dog cage or sleep inside a trash can locked in the bathroom. This, she said, was to prevent him from getting food. A photo of the cage was taken in as evidence. She said Mauricio would force Isaiah to eat Mauricio's feces and drink his urine. She said Mauricio hit Isaiah with cable cords and sticks on a regular basis.
She painted a picture of a pretty horrific, unbelievable home that I'm sure growing up that she and her family will deal with.
During the camping trip where prosecutors say Mauricio raped and killed Isaiah, his sister told the jury she saw him in the bathroom with his arms and legs tied together with shoelaces. She says she saw some of what happened when prosecutors say Isaiah was sodomized by his father, saying, quote, "It looked painful."
We all take for granted what we consider normal and having a normal home and parents who love us and a normal upbringing, and if you take all that away and then add to it a level of abuse and depravity and just wickedness that these poor kids had to endure. The fact that they were able to come and to confront it and to be heard, I think, is a credit to their character.
I hope she never feels like this was her fault. I really don't, because that was hard for me, I know. But she did all the right things, and she's not a bad person for that at all.
Madison is now with a new family. She even has a new name. Isaiah's twin sister, Mackenzie, also was adopted by the same family. We know multiple investigations were conducted by the Department of Human Services involving Mauricio Torres, but the abuse went on for years.
The Department of Human Services is a great system to protect children. However, it's a system like all systems that can't always meet every need.
Jack Eaton is a former director of the Children's Shelter of Northwest Arkansas. He's worked closely with abused and neglected children for many years in DHS too. He says there are multiple reasons cases are dismissed as unsubstantiated.
The abuser convinces the children to stay quiet, to keep this anonymous, and that they will be in trouble if they talk. And so many times children that are abused are just go through life being abused.
On top of that,
unfortunately, just like in this case you're talking about, even the mother, even the other family members sometimes protect the abuser. Many times it takes habitual, repetitive reports of the bruises, of the scars, of the things before the child is actually removed from those people that are abusing them.
Erica and Torres give us a glimpse of how Mauricio may have gotten away with abuse for so long.
Did you ever have bruises or signs of abuse where people could see you?
We wore long dresses with long sleeves and stockings. We lived in California. You know, you covered it up and you lied, you know, because you were afraid to get in trouble.
Erica and Torres say they were kept away.
We weren't allowed to play with kids outside of school. We weren't, you know, the only people that I knew were my mom and my brother and Maurice. If people started to ask too many questions, we'd move.
Erica says she always felt she wouldn't be believed.
I mean, Maurice was an occupational therapist, you know, someone who's supposed to help people and take care of people. So of course they're not going to believe a child, they're going to believe someone who's upstanding and, you know, has all these degrees.
The Benton County prosecutor says this was the same story with the other children.
The defendant kept, you know, his children isolated. He told them to lie about what had happened to them. He took steps to make sure he wouldn't get caught.
The man convicted in Isaiah's death is now on death row.
It is absolutely what the defendant deserved. I cannot imagine a more heinous and vile crime than the one he committed.
Mauricio Torres sits behind bars, no longer able to instill fear on his children.
I can walk a little taller now, knowing that I'm not going to be, I feel like nothing can hold me back now.
We break down what's happening inside the courtroom and what it is like for his kids to see him finally being tried for his alleged crimes.
Even as a prosecutor, and you hear things, you know, horrible crimes and things, that this was a level of abuse and depravity that I have never heard anything like it before.
In November, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and the jury spent 2.5 weeks inside this Benton County Courthouse. This is where 12 jurors and 3 alternates sat. In the middle of the room, the defense table with Mauricio here and the prosecutors here. Judge Brad Cameron presided over the Mauricio Torres death penalty trial. And this is a screen that displayed pictures of Isaiah's autopsy and Mauricio's police interviews. I sat down with the Benton County prosecutor about the verdict.
This is the worst case I've ever prosecuted.
45 minutes for a capital murder conviction, less than 3 hours to recommend the death penalty. The prosecutors presenting overwhelming evidence, including 8 hours of video of a police interview with Mauricio.
When you see the defendant and the way he talks about his children, the way he talks about his son, the lack of any kind of reaction to what had happened, and then to be confronted by, pictures of just sort of unimaginable beatings.
In the videos, Mauricio admits to sodomizing his son as punishment for eating cake. In court, the medical examiner said Isaiah died from anal blunt force trauma and acute peritonitis bacterial infection from when an object was forced into his body. Also adding prolonged abusive injuries was a contributing factor in Isaiah's death. The medical examiner counted 34 injuries on his scalp, 60 on his back.
Whether you have children or not, the fact that someone could do what he did to that child, not only in terms of the sexual parts of it, but also just the sheer cruelty of doing that to a 6-year-old boy is amazing to me.
It was evident in the courtroom that Erica and Torres were sending messages to their biological father, the man behind years of abuse.
When you both walked into the courtroom, you looked at him, and he was kind of surprised. How did that moment feel?
First thing I walked the courtroom, I looked straight at him. I wanted him to know that we were there, that he didn't win, that he couldn't control us anymore.
Both Torres and Erica say it was empowering.
I want him to know that I'm not afraid of him anymore.
I can walk a little taller now, knowing that I'm not going to be, I feel like nothing can hold me back now.
And hear their messages for the jurors.
To everyone who witnessed this and went through this, thank you. And
I know it was hard. I know that they had to hear a lot of uncomfortable things, and they probably had to step out of their comfort zone a lot. But I'm glad they all came together and they all agreed on what the best punishment was for a man like this.
It took the jury less than 3 hours to sentence Mauricio Torres to death. This is a copy of the sentencing documents. All 12 jurors had to agree to the death sentence, and all 12 jurors had to sign their names to this document. Days after the sentencing, Mauricio was transported from the Benton County Jail to the Varner Supermax facility. He became the 35th person on Arkansas's death row.
The next step in finding justice for Isaiah will be right here in Judge Cameron's courtroom. Isaiah's mother, Cathy Torres' death penalty trial begins in May. She faces the same charges, capital murder and battery.
Hope is not lost for the Torres children.
We got a lot of power back, definitely, that he took from us, and we regained a lot.
What they say you can do if you or someone you know needs help, and other options available to report abuse.
It affects everything. When a child is abused, that child is fundamentally changed.
We sat with Hayden Shepard with Ozark Guidance about the signs of abuse.
Well, maybe they're really hungry, if they're not clean, and just kind of that consistent pattern. Any sexualized behavior in a young kid, sexual acting out.
Shepard says abused children are often moody or withdrawn.
A lot of times the kids who act out are the ones that will notice a lot more because that's what's going to get the attention, but the kids who are withdrawing can also be a victim as well. They learn that they're helpless in the situation because the 6-year-old can't really do a lot in that situation when the parent's being abusive, and so a lot of times they'll just withdraw.
And there is help. There are 2 numbers you can call. The Arkansas Department of Human Services says anyone can report possible child abuse or neglect to the Crimes Against Children hotline. The number is 1-800-482-5964. There's also a national child abuse hotline. It's 1-800-4A-CHILD. You could also get more information at childwelfare.gov. Erica and Torres ask if you see anything suspicious, take action.
They're afraid. You have to be there for them, because all that they know is that the people that are supposed to protect them, their parents, are the ones that are hurting them. So how are they supposed to come to you?
They ask those of you who are abused to come forward.
I know it's scary. I know that you're afraid, and that you think that no one will believe you. But I don't want you to feel hopeless, because you're not. Tell someone that, look, this is happening to me. Please help me. Because you don't think that you can get help or deserve it because of what those people are doing to you.
You're not weak. The only person that's weak is the person that's doing that to you. That's the coward. You're not. You know.
Thank you for watching Chronicle Hidden Horror, the story of Isaiah Torres. You can find the entire Chronicle and all the numbers to call for help on our website, 4029tv.com.